Hello everyone, I hope you are doing great. This is Ava and you are watching the IELTS study. If you're an IELTS candidate or you're planning to do this test in the future, you're in the right place because we are going to reveal a lot of secrets and you're going to have a lot of more precious information about IELTS writing, specifically in this video, and of course you can find a lot of other information in my channel. So in order to gain that information and in order to support this channel, I would be really grateful if you could subscribe to this channel and like this video, and of course I would be really happy to see your comments. If you've got any requests, if you've got any ideas about the channel, it will be really helpful to have all your ideas and feedback. Okay, so let's move on and start talking about the task 2. As you might remember, we started our discussion with the first task for the IELTS general training and of course the academic candidates. Now we are going to be talking about different tasks that you have to be dealing when it comes to writing task 2 essay part. The first question that might pop up here is whether different tasks are applied for general and academic candidates or not. The good news here is that no, the same essay is going to be actually expected for the day of examination. Of course, as far as I know and as far as I've heard and I've seen and experienced, the type of questions on the day of examination will be different. What I'm saying is that the general booklet will be different from the academic one, okay? But the question types are not different. Task 2 actually is much more important than task 1. With that said, you shouldn't ignore task 1 because it can bring you a lot of advantages, and on the whole, you will be given 3 scores. The 2 of them are related to task 2. That's why we say that it is worth 2 eyes to task 1, and 1 of them is related to task 1. For example, imagine that you will get 7 for your task 1 and you will get 6 for task 2. 3 of them will be added up together and they will be divided into 3. And the average score will be the one that you will see on your report. So task 1 is really important, and mostly you can develop that kind of skill in a very short period of time, and you can do it even before that 20 minutes of suggested time limit. So getting the score in task 1 is really easy and it can be a great advantage for you, so you shouldn't ignore it. And for the task 2, you can expect more language skills, but task 1, especially for academic students, can be somehow dealt with figures, data, and different kinds of words related to expressing these kind of similarities and differences. And of course for your letter as well, because there are different kinds of, structures that should be used based on the kind of question that is concerned. You've got 40 minutes as it has been suggested, and you need to write at least 250 words. So 250 words is a minimum, let's say, requirement that is required. Okay, I've seen a lot of candidates who have failed to do so. I mean, 240, 230, 220. Even if you have written 248 words, it means that you haven't achieved the first requirement, which is meeting that word limit. Okay, so the other, let's say, idea or let's say advice that can be shared with you here is about not overwriting. A lot of candidates write something like 350 words. I don't know how possibly a person could write so many words during that very specific and limited amount of time under a lot of pressure and stress. So what I'm saying is that try to, limit your words between 250, which is the requirement, till at most 290 or so, okay? Writing more than that will not bring you any benefit. but of course it will cause you a lot of problems, like the time management may face a lot of problems. The other thing that is possible is about probable mistakes. The more you write, the more problems, grammatical problems, spelling problems, vocabulary problems will appear or are likely to appear. And on the other hand, as I told you, there is no use, there is no benefit, there is no advantage to do that. So why should we do that? Okay, so 250 words, 270, 280 would be a great number. Task 2, academic and general training. As I told you previously, these two, test taker types, I've got the same type of questions, okay? You will see different questions on the same date, but the types are the same. What I'm saying is that as a candidate, you need to be prepared for example, 5 types of questions, okay? That number is the same for the general and academic, let's say, candidates. There's no difference. If you remember, we talked about different elements based on which your score is being clarified, okay? So task achievement, coherence and cohesion, lexical resource, grammar and structure, these 4 items will make your score. So when you say I've got a 5 or I've got a 7 band score, you should know about the differences, because otherwise you are not going to understand the differences. You are not going to be familiar with what the examiner is looking for, and therefore just show it for him or her. Okay, you should know about the differences between a 5 and a 6 and a 7. So if you're looking to get a 7, you should know what kind of elements have to be there in order to, deserve a 7. So task achievement is the first very important thing that could really be achieved, and of course it could be deducted from your score as well easily. Why? Because a lot of candidates ignore answering to the question. Okay, for example, you're asked to write about 2 sides of the discussion and give your own opinion. So if you just write about those 2 different views and you do not write about your opinion, what will happen is that you will have a very low band score in this regard, even though you have explained those views very clearly. Okay, why? Because you haven't listened to the task itself. The task wants you to do 3 things: 2 sides of the discussion plus your own opinion. The next one is about coherence and cohesion. Experience of the reader would be somehow related to these elements. How logical, how natural, how coherent the essay and writing has been organized. The next part, cohesion, is related to those beautiful linking words, like on the one hand, on the other hand, although, despite this, unlike that. These are called linking words. So these items will make the relationship between sentences and paragraphs much more clear, and that will help the reader understand what the relationship between the whole ideas are. So these 2 items are very important as well, and the more effective you implement different kinds of linking words to make that coherence and cohesion stronger, the better results you will have. So let's move on and talk about the next part, which is lexical resources, because you need to show off your vocabulary. Sometimes I see that some people just speak very well, but, while talking with me, but when it comes to the test or the mock test, they do not use those beautiful expressions or idiomatic expressions or grammatical points as well. And when I ask why, for example, haven't you used this? Why didn't you do that? And say that, I forgot. If you do not use these kind of things, if you do not show your lexical Resource background, how possible, can it be for an examiner to understand that you know those things? So what I'm saying is that as a writer, okay, as a language learner, you should be showing your abilities and skills to your examiner, whether it is about speaking or writing. During that time, for example, writing, while you're writing those 250 words, you've got that kind of opportunity and chance to express your knowledge explicitly, okay? The other important thing that has to be considered here is about accuracy, because the appropriate tone, the level of formality, and things like them are very important for your score as well. Okay, so you have to pay attention to the range and variety, and of course, the accuracy plays an important role here. The last item that most people are really interested in is grammar and structure. What I'm just saying is that many students from all over the world are really willing to use grammatical points. And they have learned a lot of structures, complex structures, and they want to use them and utilize them in their writing. That is marvelous. But I've got a piece of advice for you. At first, you should make sure of the simple structures. For example, you shouldn't forget that S for the singular person or the plural S. When you are good with these very basic but important matters, then you should just jump to the next step and just go for the other structures till to the point that you just go for inversions, conditional sentences, and stuff like this. So what I'm saying is that I see a lot of candidates who are struggling with basic structures, just try to use very advanced structures, because this way they are not going to be rewarded at all. Because when an examiner sees that you've got problems with the foundation of the grammar, they are stuck there. It means that your score is actually stopped there, because they see that you've got that kind of difficulty using the structure. Okay, so these are 4 very important criteria based on which your score is given. So now you've got a very clear idea about the score. So when you say 5, the kind of explanations about every one of these structures, every one of these let's say elements would vary. Okay, so you have to understand it, and you have to be familiar with each of these items. Okay, so let's see. We've got a lot of tasks that we should have somehow different kinds of ideas about. What I'm saying is that now it's time for you to be prepared for different types. You cannot wait for the day of examination and just go there and say, okay, let's see what's going on. Of course, you can do that, but the result is not going to be that much beautiful and sweet, okay? So what I'm saying is that you should know about different kinds of structures, but of course, there are a lot of, let's say, tasks that are possible to appear. But the more you've got the knowledge about those tasks, the more confident and experienced you will, act out. So we usually talk about these, tasks as 4 different kinds of groups. But of course, some people say 7, some people say 5. I myself, just call them sometimes 5, sometimes 7. But to be honest with you, the most important and major ones are these 4 categories. The first one just talks about opinion. For example, you've got a statement and then it just asks about your opinion. Do you agree? Do you disagree? To what extent do you agree? It's a very simple task. You can write an introduction. You can continue with a body paragraph explaining why you agree or disagree, or 2 body paragraphs. And lastly, you will go for a conclusion. So it seems to be quite easy. The second one is about discussion. Discuss these views, or maybe discuss these views and give your own opinion. The next one is about multi-part questions. Sometimes we call them double questions. It means you've got a question, for example, why is it so? You've got a statement, and then it is asking you some questions. The first one is about the reason. Why is it so? Why is it that a lot of people like eating fast food? Okay. The second type of question goes for solutions, for example. What different kinds of actions can be done in order to change the situation? So this way you need to answer these two questions. And remember, if you only answer one question out of two, the task achievement score is gonna be suffering. Okay, the last one is multi-part question plus opinion. As we talked about, you've got these two questions. For example, what are the advantages? What are the disadvantages? And what is your opinion? Okay, these are multi-part questions plus your opinion. We're going actually to talk about the same type of topic but different questions. Okay, the topic is about the increasing popularity of shopping as a leisure activity. So this is the topic, but I'm going to show you how different the tasks might be. Okay, and if you are asked to talk about your opinion, you need some justifications. It is a fact, isn't it? Sometimes you need different kinds of explanation or evidence, so you need the support in order to say that what I'm saying is logical. Take a look. I'm not just saying something haphazard. I'm just supporting that. Okay, so you have to have different kinds of ideas and justifications in order to support your idea. So the first type of question based on the topic that I just introduced is this. Some people believe the increasing popularity of shopping as a leisure activity is a positive trend. To what extent do you agree or disagree with this statement? Give your reasons for your answer and include any relevant examples from your knowledge and experience. Okay, did you see that? You've got a statement. Some people believe that increasing popularity of shopping as a leisure activity is a positive trend. Is it a positive trend in your opinion or not? Do you agree with it or not? So whether you agree, whether you disagree, or whether you've got a partial agreement or disagreement with this is not important. What is important is how to support your idea. Okay. And the last part, as you see, give your reasons for your answer and include any relevant examples from your knowledge and experience is something that will, pop up everywhere. I mean, no matter what kind of question you are asked to write about, this is out there because it just wants you to support your idea, to support your reasons, okay? Just give examples. Let's see. Okay, we've got the next question here. Some people believe the increasing popularity of shopping as a leisure activity is a positive trend. Others believe it is harmful to individuals. Discuss both views and give your own opinion. There you go with three kinds of activities, failing to do one of which will result in losing a great amount of your score. Meaning that you should write about three things. Okay, so the first one is one group, the second one is the other group, and the third one is your own idea. Okay, if you do not do that, you will be penalized. The next type of question that is possible to appear. There are problems with the increasing popularity of shopping as a leisure activity. However, some people feel that this has positive and negative effects. Why is shopping so popular? What effects does its increase in popularity have on individuals and society? So it's a very important task to be dealing with correctly because you've got a lot of things to be done and addressed. So firstly, you should go for the reason for which this trend, shopping has become so popular. So the reason has to be addressed. The second thing is about the effects that this increase has on individuals and on society. So if you forget to address society, for example, and the effect of this trend on the society, you will lose marks. Simple but important. Okay, there are problems with the increasing popularity of shopping as a leisure activity. But whom do these problems take? Do the problems outweigh the benefits of shopping as a leisure activity? So there you go with double questions again. But here your opinion is asked as well, because it is said that whether the problems outweigh the benefits of shopping as a leisure activity or not. So you should state your opinion very clearly. You have to make a judgment and evaluate the advantages and disadvantages. Okay, so we have talked about 4 different type of tasks, but about the same topic. Imagine you're asked to write about this and you only just write about your agreement or disagreement. You say that, yes, I agree. It is a popular leisure activity. What? The examiner is like this. What? So they think that it is mechanical. You have just memorized different kinds of answers. And as far as you just saw shopping like a robot, you start writing about that topic without thinking, without analyzing. How can you understand the exact type of question and how can you sort it out? What is your idea? You should think about it. The moment that the booklet is given to you and you're permitted to open it, you should just start thinking and planning, understanding, decoding the question, whether it's a, both views discussion, whether it is a double question, whether it is an agreement or disagreement topic. So you have to understand and reveal the, a purpose, and then you can plan it out. Okay, so let's see. We've got different kinds of recommendations for you here. Firstly is about your time management, because as I said, a lot of people struggle with it. You have to be prepared for that, because even though you are very good at writing, if you cannot manage your time effectively, and imagine you write the first paragraph, the second paragraph, the third paragraph, and the fourth paragraph, but you fail to continue writing the conclusion part, you're going to be penalized, because one of the parameters for getting a good band score is including the conclusion, for example. Okay, so you have to be prepared for that time. How? By practicing it. If you are a beginner and you're just going to start writing, do not pay attention to timing that much. After a while, after understanding how to write, what to write, just writing 4 or 5 writings, you can start timing yourself. See, for example, 1 hour and 10, 1 hour and 15 is spent on the 2 tasks. And then you should start just decreasing that kind of time in order to manage it accordingly. And that is possible. Everybody nags in the beginning, but after a very short period of time, they would say that, okay, 15 minutes was enough. For example, 48 minutes was enough, something like that. And remember, it's very important to save some time for the last part, revising, because you can hunt a lot of mistakes before someone else just does it for you. Okay, and remember, task 2 is worth 2 times as task 1. So you need to allocate double time for it. The other problem that I see among candidates is that, especially for academic candidates or maybe general training candidates as well, they specify a lot of time for the first task. For example, they cannot understand the figure, the tables, and because of that, they seem to invest something like 40 minutes in writing task 1. And when they take a look at the time, they are doomed to give up, because they know that they've got no possibility to meet the time limit. So you have to understand it that you need to finish your task 1 in 20 minutes, and you have to be completely ready for that. Decide on your position, express your view clearly, and support examples and evidence. Each of the item that is written here is very important because if I cannot see your position here, okay, in your essay, you're going to lose marks. If I cannot see your view clearly throughout the whole essay, you are going to be penalized. And if you explain something not that much fully or clearly by giving examples or by just, supporting different kinds of, ideas, you're going to lose marks as well. The next thing is about organizing ideas into paragraphs. You cannot go for bullet points. You cannot go for lines or something like that. The essay has to be written into paragraphs, and you need to have a kind of clear focus. So make sure that your writing is in paragraph side. I remember one of my actually colleagues who used to be my best friend as well, just told me about her story. The first time that she took part in IELTS, she apparently wrote a very nice essay, but she forgot to go for paragraphs. And she just said that it was a block of ideas, and of course she didn't get a good score. So be sure that you use the paragraph side. Okay, so as I was saying, you need to use paragraphs, and each paragraph has one central idea. Sometimes I see that there are different ideas, very separated, and they are not developed. Remember that development of a paragraph of a one very central idea is much more worthy than very different ideas, something like 2, 3, 4 ideas. You do not need to name ideas. You just need a main idea, and then you have to develop that very specific idea by examples and evidence and different types of support. Okay, so you need a focal idea which you will explain and support. The next thing that you should be taking care of is about your vocabulary and grammatical structures, because you should make sure you use a range of vocabulary and grammar. So you need to use simple, compound, and complex structures. Sometimes candidates make mistakes and try to just use very, very difficult structures or vocabulary. When you just read the text, you do not understand even a word. Remember, the very first and the most important responsibility and issue that has to be addressed is about answering the questions and communication. So if you do not take care of that, if you cannot address it, you have failed. Simply because you haven't communicated. So the first very responsibility of you as an author, as a creator of this, essay is making communication. Failing to do so will bring you no benefit. If I write in an archaic type of language that no one understands, so nothing is gained because I couldn't make the communication. I couldn't interact with my audience. So simplicity is the best option. If you're really good at simple structures, simple words and vocabulary, at least you will get 6. But if you're trying to complicate the things, but not naturally, very mechanically, and you cannot communicate and talk about the purpose of that essay clearly, you're going to be given a very, very low score, believe it or not, because I see that tendency among a lot of candidates. They think that if the audience does not know about the word or the structure, that is very unique, that is very special. It is not like that. Of course, it is another discussion because you need to write about the words which are topical. For example, you're writing an essay about crime. So if you're typing and if you are choosing some words related to that topic, it will bring you a lot of advantages. You're writing about poverty, to be deprived of something, to be privileged. These show that you've got a very nice background in this field. Okay, about structure, it is the same story. At first, you should be really okay and good at very simple structures, fundamental structures, and then you can go upwards and just use different kinds of other advanced structures like inversion, conditional sentences, and stuff like this. You cannot forget that S for the plural noun or the singular verb, and then just use inversion. That is very funny and absurd. Okay, so try to just be consistent and make sure to be using the correct structure for very simple grammatical points firstly, and then if you're good at it, why not? You should be showing off your grammatical consciousness and information. Okay, you should be sharing that with your audience. Okay, the next item is about the task and relevant content because you need to take the moment and read the question very carefully, identify different kinds of, instruction and the type of task, and then go for the content. Do not jump into writing. First, you should think about the question and plan it out. And then when you're okay with planning, you're good to go and you can go for writing the essay. The next item is about the use of a variety of linking words to connect and sequence your ideas. Of course, you need a variety of linking words. Sometimes I see only and in order to have your sentences or clauses, associated and linked. Why you do not use other linking words? There is a wide variety of linking words and depends on the kind of sentence or purpose that you are willing to express. You should be using different linking words. And make sure that you are not overusing the linking words. You do not use linking words in every sentence. That is funny because sometimes students are really using those linking words in order to get a good score, they think. But it is supposed to be mechanical because whatever you do, firstly, should be natural. If you are not using something, it is not natural. If you are overusing something, it is not natural either. So make sure that you are doing something according to normal people, naturally. Another important thing in this regard is about the fact that you do not need to use something like firstly, secondly, all the time, okay? You can use different kinds of linking words indirectly or even grammatically. For example, when you express the main idea of the paragraph, then you can use if, you can use, then, you can use given that it is so, given that it is so. Therefore, you can just link the ideas like that. You do not need to only use, something like and or something like this. If is a very good choice in this regard. Or even you can use these. Therefore, the audience can understand that you are referring back to the previously mentioned idea. Okay, so do not write in note form or headings, bullet points, or numbered lists. Some people really like it. They would like to just go for bullet points, different kinds of numbered lists. But in English, we do not write in that style. I wonder whether actually in the other languages they do that. I mean, in writing, of course, you can just make a list for the activities that you need to do, the list of shopping or whatsoever. But for your writing as a skill, you never do that. These are sentences and paragraphs, which are very, very important in English language and mostly in many languages as far as I'm concerned. You need to allocate the time properly and manage it very, very efficiently, as I told you, because it is worth twice the previous part one, and you need to pay attention to the time as well. If you lose the track of time, you will lose the score because you're not going to finish the essay or you're not going to have the time to revise it. Each of this will result in your low score. The next one is about check your work carefully, know your usual mistakes and look for them. So every one of us has some pitfalls, has some, major personal problems. For example, some people have got the difficulty with articles. They forget about a and the all the time. Some people are really bad at singular and plural nouns. They forget that S, book, books. They forget that. Or for example, singular, let's say verb, something like is instead of are, or does instead of do. When you recognize your very specific problems and usual mistakes, when you start reading your work after having it written, you can just analyze whether you've got those problems there, or you have paid enough attention. So understanding of what type of problems or mistakes you usually make will help you understand and distinguish your probable mistakes as well. And if you correct, for example, 4 or 5 mistakes like them before having your paper delivered to the examiner or invigilator, you're going to get at least half a band score higher than the one that you were supposed to be appropriate for. Okay, so for example, if you see some spelling mistakes like 5 or 6 and you just correct it, maybe you will get a whole band score upper, something like from 6 to 7. And that is very probable because I see a lot of time that a lot of candidates just write perfectly, but it is completely clear that if they had enough time, they would correct the mistakes, the half of the mistakes themselves on their own. But as far as they didn't manage the time appropriately and tightly, they ran out of time and they couldn't do that. And the examiner or the audience actually is gonna do that. And of course, it will result in losing marks that way. And make sure you focus on the language. Okay, it's very important. I'm talking about your preparation from now on, because now you're just, paying attention to different kinds of skills, listening, reading, speaking, and writing. Try to bring all of them together so that you're learning all of the skills at once, and do it regularly when learning a language. What I'm saying is that while speaking, pay attention to different kinds of expressions. While you're writing, pay attention to that. While you're reading, you should be really focusing on different kinds of expressions, topical vocabulary, grammatical points, or even the structure that you are reading about, because that will gain a lot of advantage for you. You will reap the benefits out of it. And of course, you need to set targets for your preparation, because you cannot say that, okay, today is reading time, tomorrow is writing time, and 10 days later it is speaking time. No, you have to be disciplined. If you really want to get a good score, you have to take care of that. You have to be really strict and straightforward in order to be disciplined enough to do every task as you plan from the beginning. For example, today I'm going to learn 20 words, and every day I'm going to do that. For example, that depends on the method based on which you would like to practice your English and enhance your knowledge. The next item is about your, module, academic or general training. Which of them do you need to go for? Do you have a choice or not? You have to consult the agency, the university, or wherever you want it for. As I told you previously, if you are going for academic stuff, university pursuits or higher education, you are mostly in need of getting academic one. But if you would like to immigrate to other countries, or you would like to get a job offer or so, general training might be the choice. But you have to be sure of that. The next one is about the criteria based on which you will be given the score. We talked about it in the, the videos about writing. We talked about the parameters, the key points, the key elements which make your score clarified. Okay, so that is very important to know. But I'm sure that I will produce different kinds of, videos based on this, and I will talk about the public band descriptor in more detail later on. Just please let me know if you're really interested in having these kind of videos as well, because they will be so beneficial for you. But I have to be sure that, you guys are really likely to watch these kind of videos or not. And finally, IELTS preparation courses focus more on test taking than language skills. That is very important because a lot of people say that, for example, I have been going to some institutes, language teaching institute, and my level is this, my level is that, what should I do, these kind of questions. Firstly, you should have the basic language skills, okay, something like intermediate, based on the score that you're looking for, of course. So, but normally you need intermediate or upper intermediate level, and then you should take a look at the skills, the strategies, the techniques for improving your IELTS or, be somehow test-wise, because that is important as well. So what I'm saying is that if you've got a year to be prepared, spend at least 7 or 8 months for general English, and the last 3 or 4 months will be okay for your test-related techniques, okay? And you should somehow look for your strengths and your weaknesses. Sometimes, like, the usual life, the normal life, daily routine, we skip the ones which are not that much comfortable for us. For example, I do not like reading, so I just work on the other skills, namely writing, listening, and speaking. But I ignore working on my reading. Although I'm not good at it, I prefer not to work on it because I don't like it. Maybe because I'm weak at it. Maybe it is really energy consuming. Whatsoever. Okay, so the reason is you're not willing to do that. Instead of working on that from the first day, you just ignore it and you skip it and you just try to be really intelligent and smart in order to do that. And suddenly you see that, for example, you've got a month before your exam and you have no idea about the reading strategy. Plus, you do not have a lot of, vocabulary knowledge. You do not know about you have no idea, you have no clue about the reading. Okay, so that is very fundamental and common among a lot of us. But from the first day, you should understand the fact that if you get 9 for all the skills, except for the one that you really do not like, you are not going to get anywhere because most universities need, for example, a 6 for all the skills or a 7 for all the skills and the minimum overall of something. So all the skills are important. You cannot prioritize one and skip the other ones. And of course, if you get 3 9s, for example, and get 5 for your reading, you are not going to be accepted as well for many universities. Maybe a conditional grant will be offered, but it is not okay. And you have to understand it sooner or later, like it or lump it, you have to do that. So, okay. And the last thing that I want to mention here is about the fact that classes are very good. They are fundamental. They will build up your knowledge. They will brush up your understanding of the language that has been, gathered throughout the years of learning. But the main game is outside the classroom. Shopping, talking, listening, just watching movies, watching series, reading a book, all of them will add up and teach you a lot of things. So try to embrace a lot of learning or let's say English related topics, whatever you're more interested in. If you are really into movies, go for movies. If you're into music, go for music and just enjoy it. Because remember, learning a language does not need to be that tough. Okay, you need to be somehow comfortable and everything should be relaxing. In that kind of situation and atmosphere, you're mostly, likely to be prepared and enjoy and entertain and develop your abilities. Thank you guys for taking part in this video as well, watching this video. It is in the beginning of my, let's say, classes and videos. So I've got a lot of, problems, of course, maybe technical problems, maybe, I goof up or whatsoever. But I just want you to know that I really do that out of love. I want to help you guys wherever you are, and I want to have a kind of community together so that you can learn how to tackle IELTS very smartly in a very short period of time. So if you want to support me, if you like this kind of videos, and if you want to be a part of this community, please subscribe to this channel, like this stuff, and just place a comment for me, because I will be really happy to read your comments and see that people are getting somehow benefits out of this stuff. Okay, thank you, and take care of yourself. Bye-bye for now.